shit at the
He
pilot.
stepped up his head.
Niggas be broken, be sober, but still talking shit like
And
they
he
got it.
fumbles the football and the
They say that
Eagles
they
have
got it.
it.
For money, these niggas gon' say that they got it.
Oh my God.
Get
Deep
out
to
with the
right
key to
field.
success, and these niggas gon' blame it on talent. They don't wanna see you win. They don't wanna see the race. You don't wanna see a bitch caught up in the stars like she out of space. Mention at the condo at the mention, and I'm running out of space.
Yo, welcome to episode 3 of the City of Brotherly Love Sportscast. I'm Dylan,
I'm Blake.
and doing things a little differently this week. We're separated, we're each at our own cribs.
COVID complications. For those of you who I don't know if you would just assume it, but no other reason we would be doing this. Fiance tested positive. I did a little while back. I probably got the antibodies, but I got a quarantine as well. So this is how we got to do it for this week at least. Maybe next week, we'll see. But here we go. Also shout out to our guy before we get started. Repping hard at Philly as always. Still got the hat on. So here it is.
Yes, sir.
Get into it, brother.
Yes, sir. All right. So, the first thing we got to talk about this week is Eagles versus Saints and Jalen Hurts' play. So what exactly – let me hear the good and the bad of what you pulled out from that game, whether it was the first half, second half, anything that you believe that
I got a lot to touch on because we saw a lot of good, I said it to you. I said before the week started, I said, my prediction's still there. We're going to win 3 or 4. We'll get into that eventually. But I said they're going to win this week. I said, watch, there's going to be some stupid shit. Doug's going to run the ball a ton. What did he do? We ran it 36 times. 18 with Hurts, 14 with Miles. We racked up 246 yards on the ground. The good of the game is we played great in the first half. Ball possession. Hurts picked up a lot of extra first downs, extended drives with his legs. The time possession was there. We actually had – it was pretty split for the most part throughout the game, but we had more the ball, actually, surprisingly. If you want to get into it, the first half, we had 302 total yards in the first half for the first time since 2017 against the Rams, where Carson actually tore his ACL, for those of you who don't know that or whatever. And then you want to get into how many total yards we had the whole game was 413. So that means 111 yards in the second half alone. The first half was great. We all know that, but that's unacceptable. You go from 200 or you go from 300 to 111 in the whole second half total. That can't happen. Almost blew the game.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So, obviously we figured out that Hurts can obviously do things that Carson can't, specifically with his legs. And honestly, that's the biggest thing. I don't think he has the arm that Carson has, but his legs definitely proved otherwise. We had this is the first time in 50 games that the Saints let up a running back or any kind of player with over 100 rushing yards. And we had two. And we had 2 in one game. So, that shows the different capability that it brings to our offense, specifically with now Sanders and Hurts. So it gives you that capability to have a dual threat running. And then sometimes, I don't know if they're still going to incorporate Jordan Howard or Boston Scott, but I think at that point, those two are pretty much irrelevant.
Yeah, I think they barely touched the ball at all, which was
exactly
great because Doug finally used his best player on offense the most in the game. So
yeah, and even then, Sanders still only ran the ball 14 times, and Jalen Hurts ran the ball 18 times. So I'd probably say about 5 or 6 of them was probably him just escaping the pocket because of the O-line and then just getting away because of his legs. But I'd still like to see Sanders getting the ball more.
Yeah, he had 4 catches too. It was only 21 yards, but he had 18 touches total. Still, it wasn't his most in the game so far this year. It definitely wasn't, because then that would only be 18 touches total. In the Rams game, he touched 20 total, at least on the ground. So, but you got to use him more. Especially next week, you're playing Arizona, you got to incorporate him.
Absolutely. And then when you were talking how the first half was unbelievable, I think Jalen Hurts was very good. He was about as good as his haters or anybody expected him to be in his first game of having no tape on him possibly. But he outdid what I thought he was going to be. Absolutely outdid. I didn't think he was going to be that good. But then when the second half came, completely different player. And there's people out there that said that he had a good second half. but you can't tell me that he was 5 for 9 for 38 yards in the second half.
Yeah, the passing game's still struggling.
He only 6 catches by wide receivers on Sunday.
And the biggest one of the day was that it was like a 43-yarder, maybe 48-yarder by Reagor or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Even that was an 8-yard dump off.
And if you look at it, if you go back and look at the play, the announcers were breaking it down. I mean, God forbid I wouldn't have wanted to be called back, but we're lucky to get called back. They show Ertz, he was like, I guess, picking 2 players or whatever, but technically should have been a hold-in or something like that. I forget what they said. It was like some type, but it should have came back. But thank God it didn't, set us up. So, but the passing game's still struggling. What do you have? Like 100? I didn't write it down. He had like 167 yards or 187 yards passing total. Reagor only had those 2 catches.
2 catches for 46 and one rush for 19.
It was 2 for 46, so that long one was only like a 20-yarder then.
It should have been.
Felt like it was like 40 then, honestly. So definitely. Passing game's still not there.
Passing game is not, but I think that's what they wanted to run. I think they wanted to run the more run game with Hurts.
Yeah, I mean, teams don't have film on him. He can use his legs. He's definitely more agile in the pocket. He's better. You saw what Carson could do. He can escape the pocket good, but this year definitely hurts his pocket awareness. And that game showed it's better so far, at least just for the start. He's picking up those first downs with his legs. I think his biggest run went for like 19 yards too.
Mm-hmm.
Well, like I said, like the passing games are still not there, and that's not on Hurts. It's on Doug. He did miss. I'm not going to say here and nitpick completely, but he did miss that big deep ball to Reagor. Reagor had more than a step on the guy. He had 2-3 steps on the guy, and just seemed like the arm strength wasn't there to get it to him.
But I think he can. I think he can definitely work on the arm strength. Like I was posting after the game, he has the legs. I think he has the team railing behind him. He's got the momentum at the moment with the rest of the players. But I think his arm strength, his accuracy is his biggest downfall right now. Those are the things that he has to work on. They're
playing inspiring football, and he played a lot of smart football yesterday. He came in, and it was like he was going – his first and second reads weren't there. Bang, he was taking off with his feet. That option might not always be there to take off with his feet. The more and more teams watch, they might be like, screw it, let's try to make this kid stay in the pocket. Kind of like a Lamar type. If you can get him to stay in the pocket and force him to beat you with your arm, I think Jalen's arm's better than Lamar's. But that's the type of situation I think will be where he's not as accurate. His arm strength, I'm not going to say he has no arm strength, but it's definitely not on like the level we're seeing with some QBs around the league. So you need that. So, I mean, just you got to factor that in. Eventually, these next 4 games, it's not going to be enough eventually for teams, I feel like, to get taped out on them.
No.
But my expectations aren't high for Hurts anyway. I want to see what he can do. I said win 3 of 4. Hell, if he beats Arizona, we might go 4 of 4.
Yeah.
We go 4 of 4. There's a shot.
It wins the division, I think.
It probably does. That's why 3 of 4 definitely doesn't. But if you run the table, win the division, you get a playoff game, you're probably talking about him being your QB next year for sure. If you get the
yeah, that's a QB controversy. That's 1,000% going to happen if he runs the table.
Yeah.
It's just inevitable at that point. But I mean, outside of him, no interceptions, no sacks. So he proved he's a good player. I'll give it to him. I'm going to give it to him. He played a good game. It's just have to clean up. The fumble was really bad in the second half. The fumble really almost cost him the game if it wasn't for Josh Sweat. But there was more shining, no other shining. The whole team played really well, honestly. That defense, that's the best defensive game we've seen all season, easily.
It's 5 sacks and 2 turnovers.
Yeah, 0 points in the first half on the hottest team in the NFC.
That's another reason. It's no knock to Hurts at all. It really isn't. We can't say they solely won that game because of him. He did a lot of good things that helped them win the game. They like extend plays, extend drives, throw the ball away, not take sacks, not make it like 3rd and forever, not make it even 2nd and forever. He did a lot of the good things, dude. But he wasn't the reason they won that game. The defense gave you good field position once, and the other time it was decent. It was like the 30, something like that, 35. But the first one was like on our 47. You only have to get 3 yards to go, and probably 25 of them to get in the field goal range at least to get any type of points. And they score. They capitalize. You still got to capitalize on that. You get good field position, though. That's what happens. You got to set your offense up and put them in that type of position.
Absolutely. That's what I mean. And then now, who knows what the defense is going to look like now? There's a chance that we lost Maddox, Slay, and McLeod yesterday. Or on Sunday. McLeod already out for the season. Slay, they're saying, is day-to-day, and then Maddox is day-to-day as well. So, I mean, it's not on the bright side right now. Who knows? And then especially, like, who's covering Hopkins this weekend? That's my biggest thing. So
that's the only reason why I don't know if we win this game.
And Arizona's fighting for a spot still. So it's not like they're just in. Like the Saints were in.
They're third in their division right now, aren't they?
Yeah, but their record can still get them in the wild card, I think.
Yeah, for sure. But you got the Seahawks right there above them. Seahawks are playing Washington by no means not a pushover, clearly, because they're on a 4-game win streak. Mm-hmm. They went in and beat Pittsburgh a week ago.
Yep.
So I mean, they're playing good football, and that defense is legit. The offense does enough, and that defense is legit.
Oh yeah, the NFC is definitely coming around from the beginning of the season. Some of these big wins that they're coming out with. So they're not games that people can just stroll over now and just make a W on the schedule.
Yeah, but from here on out, what can we really expect from Hurts and Doug? You know, Doug finally did. He did what we wanted to see all season. We said run the ball. Run the ball, dude. Even with Carson, we said run the ball. And he says it in his presser. He says, Hurts is starting this week. We're going to look to run the ball, look to take a little bit off his shoulders. Well, you did that. You actually here's your best game plan all year. Mm-hmm. He's still a dumbass, but it was his best game plan all year.
Yeah.
He's a real stu-nut. He finally did something good. He even designed plays. He designed rollouts for Jalen, which is to his strength too, because he's playing to his strengths. You had reads. Did it all, dude.
There's still definitely a few negatives that I pulled out of the game. To me, I don't know why, but one of the biggest ones to me is Jake Elliott. Think he needs to go, but he's got the next 2 years of dead cap space between $8 and $12 million. I think next year's $12 million. I think 2022 is $8 million.
For a kicker making that much, especially him, he's not even a top 5 kicker. He's probably not. He's probably not. He's not even top 10.
He can't even hit it. He can't even hit a chip shot. I think he said he's 1 for 4 from 20 to 29 yard field goals this year, and he's 2 for 5 on 50 plus.
Yeah.
So
his stats on field goals over 50 the last 2 years are abysmal. They're god awful. I remember them saying it back on Sports Talk. It was like earlier in the year when he missed one, and I forget what it was, but it was like 5 for 12 at the time or something. It was horrible. I was like, Jesus, dude, and we pay this dude this much to do this? No.
Yeah, absolutely. And all around, it was a
22-yarder too.
Yeah, ridiculous.
I could hit that. They should hold open tryouts because I could probably do better than him.
Yeah, they need to bring Sarah Fuller and draft her from Vanderbilt in the first round, and she'll become the kicker.
It would be the greatest waste of a first-round pick ever.
Yeah, but people would praise it. Either way, I think it was a great all-around team win. I think the next thing is, so Hurts, say Hurts does end this season, we'll say 4 out of 4, maybe 3 out of 4, maybe wins a playoff game. Who knows? What do they do? Do you start, even if you go 3 or 4, you obviously have to start Hurts in the playoff game. So say that happens, this QB controversy, they don't even want it to be a thing. So they decide that, where do you think Wentz goes? Where will Wentz, at this moment, where will Wentz be next season?
If Hurts goes 3 or 4, he posts some numbers. Like yesterday was Sunday was a good game. He did some good things. He put up good numbers, not bad numbers and he did great things. Like the Alshon touchdown pass, a lot of people say he pushed off. He didn't push off.
No, he didn't.
It was like, and if it was like little contact. Like, I hate Alshon, don't get me wrong. I hate him more than anybody else in this city. But he didn't push off there. He got separation for once, and he caught the ball. And Hurts took a mean hit there, and he still delivered the ball. He put it right on the money. So he's done some good things. If he continues to do little things like that, plays turnover-less football, and they get 3 wins, I think it's an open competition still next year, just because you're tied into that Wentz contract, and if you don't want to move on from him yet. But if he wins 3 and let's say it comes down to the Washington game at the end of the year and they get in the playoffs all 3, and then he's playing a playoff game and he's starting a playoff game, you're probably, even though he might have got lucky because you got put in that position to play Washington for that playoff spot, I'm probably talking about him rallying the team, him getting you to playoffs, and you're like, bye-bye Wentz. And if he wins 4 and runs the table and gets some playoffs and you start a playoff game, you're saying bye-bye to Wentz.
Yeah. I think that's what happens. But I think, say he goes 0-3 to end the season, I think it's Wentz's job to lose. I think it really just comes down to these last 3, possibly 4 games with a playoff game. I think either way, I think he stays in Philly as much as they don't want to pay a backup that much. I think just due to it, unless he reconstructs his contract and he decides that he'll be for being traded somewhere else and he wants to actually help the Eagles, which I don't know how many players will to be traded, but because they'd be losing probably 20 mil. But
yeah,
best case scenario for him in my mind would easily be going to a team that's ready to win right now, would be either Indianapolis or San Fran. If he goes to either one of those teams, they're ready. They're gonna compete right away.
I told you that. I said the 3 teams right now
Mhm.
was 3 of the 4 that one guy posted today. It was the 4 teams were Denver, San Fran, Colts, and Patriots.
In New England, yeah.
I said Patriots, San Fran, and Colts. Colts is just like a no-brainer. Everybody thinks it's happening.
Yeah.
If it does happen, we're all going to be like, wow, no shock there. But if it happened with the Patriots, there's no shock there because you see what the Patriots are doing this year. And that's what Cam. And Cam has no weapons, but I don't think Cam's that good anyway. Not anymore.
Patriots are going to go into this draft right now, and they're going to draft the receiver.
Mhm.
And then they had what, 12 players opt out.
Yeah.
So they have people coming back.
They'll get guys back.
Yeah, they're going to be a better team next season for sure.
If they get a few weapons, even like 1 or 2 offensive pieces who can be used out of the draft, and they trade it for a guy like Wentz, I guarantee Belichick will know how to use Wentz.
Yeah.
And if not, San Fran, God knows what they'll do. Maybe Wentz is only being a good sport this year. I think he's a class act. He always takes a high road, but he's going to want to play. And next year, if he's not playing, maybe he will just reconstruct. And he'll just say, screw it, I'm going somewhere else. And you'll have a team like Jimmy G isn't that good. And Kyle Shanahan's a big fan of Wentz. Frank Reich, they're going to need a QB. He's a big fan of Wentz. And Denver, I mean, you've seen the moves John Elway has made over the past few years. None of them have been good.
They just need a quarterback in general.
Yeah, so he's desperate. So I think even they would be in the Wentz. And they got a nice young little crew over there. They still need to build up the line. I think they need they have Melvin Gordon. And their receivers are there, but they could use like an established vet wide receiver. But he even goes there. They're good.
Even if you snag somebody like a Devontae Parker or something that's going into free agency, I think that's definitely something that I can see Bill doing just to grab one. And then you still have Julian Edelman coming back too. So, I mean, who knows? But so then I think one question that staying on the Eagles for a minute, one thing we had pulled in from a good buddy of ours, Cam Riley. Who coming up this week you feel is a good pull in fantasy? So, I mean, fantasy playoffs, it's semis this week for most leagues, but for the Eagles specific, I really there's only really 2 players on my mind that I think are even close to being worth playing.
Yeah, I think you got to go. I said it because he asked us in that chat. It's Dallas Goedert, Miles Sanders.
That's it.
No exception, just them 2. Nobody else has given you enough. And Dallas, I think, still had like 4 catches, like 40 yards.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't used nearly enough. He needs to be used more. He gets open. He does a lot of good things, Dallas Goedert. He's a good blocker, one of the best in the league, one of the best blocking tight ends in the league. And he's a damn good route runner. He has good hands. He's kind of big and fast for a tight end too. I mean, that's like the breed nowadays anyway. But I think he's like bigger and faster than most.
Jalen Hurts did put up 23 fantasy points. So I mean, if you're needing a quarterback, which I mean, I would pick a lot of fantasy quarterbacks over him. But if you're needing a quarterback this week, like me, I have to start Ryan Tannehill. Jalen Hurts wouldn't be a terrible way to go because he's going to get the points with his legs. And he didn't even have a rushing touchdown this past week. So
Yeah,
I could see him getting one.
I would book him in for one next week, and I'd probably maybe even book him in for a couple passing touchdowns. Maybe he throws a pick or has a fumble, but it will balance out, and you'll still get no matter what.
All right. So with that, we're going to move on to my my favorite topic that we're going to talk about this week, because Phillies made a big hiring. It was big, and I love it. The Dave Dombrowski. I think this dude's he's gonna hopefully change his team around. He word for word said he wants to retool, not rebuild. He wants to retool the Phillies, not rebuild them. So that gets me pretty pumped up. Where do you see the next step for the Phillies to really? What does he need to do to make it worth it?
Sign JT. Sign JT. And he knows that needs to that needs to happen. He knows that needs to happen. He said it. I think he came in openly saying we all want him back, obviously, and that was like his first day already. So that's where he has to start. Second, I would say you have to build the pen up, but I'm all for the rumors cooled down a lot, but I'm all for the Frankie Lindor trade. So I'm all in on that, man.
Yeah.
You got the arms in the starting rotation to get you by. Like Eflin was very solid. What was he, your number 4 last year or number 5?
Yeah.
He was your number 4. And he was very
Technically, if you had Arrieta going 3 or 4.
And Arrieta's a bum. You get a good start out of him every once in a while. At least like Eflin, you were getting good starts out of like pretty consistently. He's a hit or miss guy, but he was actually good for a 4.
Mm.
I mean, if he became and you got Spencer Howard, hopefully he's back up. So then you have Wheeler and Nolan. So you don't need another arm in the starting rotation. I mean, I wouldn't mind one, but.
And then you got Ramon Ramos coming up. He looks pretty good.
You go to the pen and you re-sign JT, and I say you try to add another bat with Frankie Lindor. You trade Stott. You can trade Gene if you have to. I don't know what you do to throw in there because I know one thing. Dombrowski's not afraid to sell the farm to build a win. And that's in my notes.
He's already proved it.
I did like the good and the bad with him, and it's a good thing, but it's a bad thing because if you sell the farm, if you're not retooling down there, you have nothing, and that kind of sucks. But if you get to the World Series or win a World Series, it becomes extremely well worth it.
Oh, absolutely. And so he did it with 3 different teams. He did it with, obviously, he won the World Series twice in 1997 with the Marlins and then 2018 with the Red Sox. But in between those teams, he was doing it with the Tigers as well. And that was his run with the Tigers when they went to 2 or 3 World Series, I think, or 2 or 3 championship series games. And basically he wants to use the farm system to win now.
Man.
And he's going to use it to win now. But that's the issue. You sell the farm and you don't win. You're in another 5 to 6 year rebuild.
What is it for us what is it to us anyway? We're honestly one of the most poorly ran sports franchises across all sports easily.
But I'm for it because I'll take a World Series and then 3 or 4 years of in the hole again for 1 World Series.
Well, I mean, we win one and we might still be there in contention, but just not what we were that year when we won. Which
exactly.
Is how it is, but you might be able to get back or you might be able to make playoffs or at least be contending for playoff spots. So, I mean, that's what you need. And, yeah, he did it with Detroit. I mean, some people aren't too high on him because they worry about, like, he's like, people will be like, I'm not like a Sox fan, but I used to like the Sox growing up, so I still watch them and follow them. But you got like Sox fans who are like, he's kind of the reason we're in shambles now. I mean, he's probably part of it, but he's not the only reason.
No.
Detroit, he was there for over a decade, and they didn't see. I think before that too, Detroit was horrible, man. I was doing my research. They didn't see playoffs for they seen 6 playoff appearances over like a 40-year stretch or some bullshit.
Crazy.
And then he gets all the way up to 02. It was from the late 50s to 02. And then he gets there. I think he got there in 02, 03. And they make it, I forget exactly when, but then they get to the World Series in 06. And they lose in 5 to the Cardinals. They don't get back to the World Series until 2012 and they get swept by the Giants. Who who love to win every other even year for whatever goddamn reason for 6 years straight.
Yeah, Gabe Kapler's going to come out with one eventually.
God bless.
I don't know, but I really think this is the best step in the right direction. Definitely is. I think now you have a franchise that has one of the most known executives in the MLB, and then you also have Joe Girardi. So those are two dudes that I think any player would be willing to come and play here. If you just put those names in front of them, they wouldn't be made to come to Philly and play. And then you still have those guys. That's why I think JT still needs to be main priority, because you want to have that ability to, like, especially if he's going to do the farm system and he's going to sell the farm system to try and pull big name players in, they still need to have that ability to say, like, oh, we have Bryce Harper, we have JT Realmuto, we have Aaron Nola, we have Zach Wheeler. Like, you need to be able to have those names.
You have Alec Baum.
Exactly.
You
Spencer Howard.
Next year, but as long as they don't mess up his swing, that kid's a stud.
Yeah, he's going to be pretty damn good. So I think this was definitely – I'm just hoping it wasn't like a quick decision. You know what I mean? I hope they didn't just do it to do it, and hopefully he doesn't make dumb decisions. But
Yeah,
I think it'll be all right.
Yeah, I don't think it was a quick decision. They've had time to make this decision, and they hire him, and you got a known winner. That's what you got here. It seems like Philly's bringing in the known winners. Past 3 off seasons, we've seen it. AV's never won a cup, but he's been there multiple times, and he's built some damn good winning teams. You bring him in. Chuck Fletcher. He's not the greatest GM, but he's done some good things here in Philly right now, and we're high on him. He's done some great things with Minnesota, so you brought him here. And then you got the Phillies now. They're bringing him in. Sixers brought in Morey and Doc. You're bringing in winners all around the board. It's time for the Eagles to start bringing in winners, because Howie isn't a winner. Doug, you know what? He might be a winner, because it might show that Wentz is the problem all along.
Yeah.
Or maybe they just didn't like Wentz. I don't know, or they're just not compatible. Maybe he needs to change the scenery. You know what I mean? So
I think they're not a good match.
Yeah, so maybe Doug and Hurts is the new combo, and you keep Doug. Like I said, I'm willing to give Doug one more year. I still think he does a lot of dumb stuff.
Yeah.
I still think he's just do not. But at the end of the day, you bring in a winning GM for them too. We're building winners all across the boards, and Philly sports are about to be back on the map. We were supposed to be on the map. We're supposed to be in contention. We're supposed to be talking about every team contending for a title this year, and it's not happening. So now I'm going to finally start getting back to that way.
I think 2 or 3 more years, and every team in the city could be definitely right there.
Yeah.
So then, I mean, you bring up Morey, obviously, so we'll stay on that topic. So the Rockets basically came out and said Simmons and 3 first-round picks. And Morey's not going to do that. That's not going to happen. I don't know. I don't think any team in the league would do that. Well, so where do you think they stand, and do you think they even care about a Harden trade at this point in time?
Yeah, I think it's crazy because everybody's looking for that third splash move, like a Zach LaVine, like crazy. Would love him here.
Yeah.
He'd be the cheaper route. So I would of course, I would take him. Younger, cheaper, good. He gets better every year, but it's like you just keep hearing about the Harden rumors, and he's linked to Philly. It's like, when is it going to happen, dude? It's kind of like Harper. You kept hearing about it, but that was different because it was all season you were signing him.
Yeah.
But it's like, when is it going to happen? That's how I feel about it. I'm a big Harden guy. I told you that. He's one of my favorite players in the league.
Yeah.
And at first I was kind of like, yeah, I'll trade Ben straight up for him. I'm not giving up. Those 3 firsts ain't going to mean squat anyway, but you never know. So I'm not trading those 3 firsts on top of Ben for Harden. Ben is, first of all, age on his side, and he's one of the best defenders in the NBA, if not the best defender in the NBA. You can't go around the league and find me many guys who can guard 1 through 5 as good as him and do it at an elite level. So, I mean, I said you give it a year, and I don't know where Harden is. Maybe I doubt he's staying in Houston, so something's going to have to give and budge. But that's the only way I would ever do it, is you give it a year, and if Ben and Joe ain't working out, you keep Joe, because where Joe's at in his career, in his prime, best big in the league, and then you bring an elite scorer in who can give you a bucket whenever you need it. And that's when you make that trade. But I think maybe it calms down, and they're not going to get what they're asking for. They're not going to get what they're asking for.
No.
He added all the contenders to his team, but what can anybody really give up? like maybe you said and like a lot of people said, maybe the Nets can offer a better package than
I
us,
think they can.
but they're not giving up Kyrie, and
Mm-mm.
so they're stuck there. And it kind of seemed like okay, it went from straight to the Sixers, and there's a lot of mutual interest there. Not that like the Nets don't, but it's like everybody's hyping up Philly, and it's like you gotta try to do something to bring him in. And I think Morey recognizes that, and then you know what I mean. I don't know.
Well, yeah, I mean, if Simmons isn't in that package, the 3 firsts are still going to be in it no matter what.
Yeah.
And I mean, the way you mentioned how the 3 firsts may not mean anything. I bet the Golden State Warriors didn't think their first round pick wasn't ever going to mean anything either. You don't know. See, like Steph and Clay go down, and then they get the 2 pick in the draft. You know what I mean?
They're gonna be right back at the top this year.
And they'll be right back. So, I mean, depending what turns out with Clay, but it's sometimes there's 3 first round draft picks is a lot, especially when you don't know where your team's going to be at, because we haven't been as good as we've been expecting to be the last 3 years in a row. So, to be able to throw those draft picks away, I don't think it's worth it.
You've already saw Ben miss time, and you saw Joe miss time. Joe he's more on a load management, so he hasn't really been like his diet's been crap and needs to be better so he can do things for us and title this town. But both of them could easily get hurt too. It's not like you get unlucky like Steph breaks his hand and then they just sit him out the rest of the year. The Clay's never come back, and Clay tears it. He tears Achilles or an ACL. I think it went back to back either way.
Yeah, he went back to back ACL.
One or the other. Yeah, it was one or the other way. So
yeah,
it's like not saying that will happen to us, but it can. And then those picks become meaningful, and you get a top talent, and then you get those guys back on top of it. So that's huge. But
exactly.
Did you see though? My boy, or our boy CJ Parker put this out there. He sent it to me in my one group chat. Do you see what Doc said? It was like anyone but Joe or something like that.
Right? No, I didn't see that.
Let me see if I can find a picture. I don't want to like go on my phone while I'm on the podcast, but he literally was like, I gotta find the exact picture.
Anybody's in play besides Joel.
I don't know if it was like in the sense that like, oh, here he goes. It was a reporter. What is the best lineup you've seen so far? Anyone and Joel.
Yeah.
So you know what that means. Like, Joel is the focal point here. Like, everybody thought when Morey and Doc came, they were like, Ben is the guy. Joe's the odd man out. No, if there's any odd man out here, it's Ben, and it's clear as day.
Yeah.
You have a big, and he's so transcendent. Not that Ben isn't transcendent. If Ben scores the way he's supposed to score, it's lights out. You know.
Well, the thing is, every player in the league respects Joel and respects his game. Right. I think there's a lot of players in the league that don't. They think Ben can't shoot. Like, they disrespect his game. You know what I mean? And I think that's what it comes down to. I think a lot of people, they know that Joel is that pressure point that they have to keep focused in and dialed in. And if he's on, then the team's going to be on because they can rally around him specifically.
Yeah. So what are you about to say?
Oh, go ahead.
So I don't really know how also back to like the Harden thing. I don't really know how 3-team trades work. Like, could you like,
we could send one player to one team and one player to another team.
Oh, so you can do that.
Yeah.
Okay, so a guy hops on today and he's like, what about this? And like, he wasn't making sense, but he finally like spit it out right. He was like, so what if we did a 3-team trade with the Bulls, but the Bulls kind of get fleeced here? And it was like, what if we send Toby down there to Houston, which I'm fine with. I'm a big Toby guy. And then the Bulls send Levine down to Houston, which would be crazy. And then we send like Tease. I don't know if we send another player or picks or whatever to the Bulls. Houston sends like PJ Tucker
to the Bulls.
Someone else, maybe like Gordon or something, to the Bulls, and maybe like a pick. And then Harden comes up to Philly. And I was like, that kind of sounds enticing. Like, I know I'm biased, but like if I was the Bulls wouldn't ever do that. But like if Houston could have that happen, yeah, that sounds very enticing.
But if the Bulls could snag like 4 or 5 first-round draft picks out of that,
yeah, I mean, they're building anyway. They ain't winning shit in the East.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? They ain't winning shit, dude.
I mean, Levine's the only thing they really have at the moment.
They got Markkanen. And
but he had a really good rookie year, and then he had a bit of a down year last year. So.
And then they have what's the other kid's name from UNC? Is it Kobe White or Colby?
Yeah, Kobe White.
Kobe White, yeah.
Yeah. But so moving on from that, I think the last thing we can really touch on this week is more Eagles versus Cardinals, right?
Yeah.
So what are you expecting? I guess final thoughts on what do you expect to come out of this game, and
So
who do you think is really going to be the shining star?
my thought was like I said, because we made our predictions for what Hurts does the rest of the year because he was announced starter.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds like they didn't even announce him literally starter for the rest of the year because they just had to announce it that he's starting again Sunday. Like, that was a no-brainer. We just won our first game in however
6
many
weeks or something.
Yeah, like, that's a no-brainer. I would have thought we would have lost to the Saints, even though Taysom Hill was playing, just because their defense is so good. And they play the Cardinals, and they beat the Cardinals. They played inspiring football. They beat the Saints. Was it just they were all backs up against the wall, inspired again for the backup, want to get him his first win? Maybe. But I'm going to ride that high horse. I don't know who's on D-Hop. They even got Christian Kirk. They still got Larry Fitz. I don't care what you say about that man. He's a
Big
goat.
body.
Yeah, he's a goat. And then they got Kenyon Drake, who's been good in that system that Cliff Kingsbury runs over there. And Chase Edmonds.
And that new tight end that they've been using a lot, Dan Arnold.
Good number 2. So I'm still going to say we win. I don't know how we contain Kyler because you saw what Lamar did when we went to the game earlier this year. Ran right up the middle for like 40 yards on like a 4th and 2 on us or something. It was like
especially with more injuries.
Yeah, so I mean, God knows what Kyler does. Hopefully they can like spy him, contain him away from running, make him beat you with his arm, which he can do, but I'm going to go Hurts wins it, and it's like a shootout again. I'm going to say like 31-28 Birds, and this is the start of something special at the end of the year. And believe me, I know I'm saying this, and I'm far from this. I'm usually negative. I don't want to win. But if Hurts is going to come in here, do his thing, and Doug's going to come up with good game plans, and they're going to put us in a spot to potentially playing for a playoff spot at the end of the year, might as well buy back in. So we'll see what happens this week. But right now, that's where I stand. I think we're going to win. I don't care. I said it. We're going to win.
Yeah. So then, I mean, on this side, you know, I'm playoffs over draft pick always. I just think you play for the playoffs, and that's kind of what you need to do. I mean, you never know. Once you get to the tournament, anything can happen. But I think this week, I think it's the same thing. I think we could win in a shootout. I think if Hurts plays the same way, maybe even tallies up to Kyler, can do what Kyler can do. I think Kyler's a little bit better of an arm, and a little bit obviously better weapons. But I think it's in Arizona, I believe. But I think Hurts can compete. Just as of right now, I think Mary's going to run a little bit, and Kenny Drake's going to be able to run a little bit. And then as of right now, I don't know who is going to be able to step up and stop D-Hop.
See, Kyler can do the same thing Hurts just did for us this week. But I think Doug's going to get back to that time of possession. Hurts is going to be able to pick up first downs, and I think that's going to be good enough to win us games.
Absolutely.
Or at least the goal is, we kept the Saints off the field, and then when they started getting the ball back and getting on the field in the second half, you saw them catching up. And we don't need that happening. I want the high draft pick. I know what you said about playoffs, so I want to lose obviously because I want to rebuild this team. I want to transcend. I can't say he's going to be transcendent, but you get a Micah Parsons in here. You get a
Devontae Smith.
I love that kid. I love him more than Jamar Chase. You get Jamar Chase in here though. You get what's that dude's name? Is it like Patrick Surtain Jr., the corner? They say he's top-rated corner in a while coming out of a draft. You get a guy like that because you can go anywhere in this draft. Depending on where you fall. Hell, they could go QB again. People will think I'm crazy. If they're going to trade Wentz, and I like Hurts, and if Hurts is going to do good things, fine, keep him. I like Zach Wilson though, so you know that. You know my feelings for that, but I don't think they're losing this game. I think
that's one thing. Maybe what if Wentz and Hurts, neither of them are the answer? I think that's definitely a topic for the future. We could throw that in next week, but who knows? After this game this week, if he plays badly, that could be our next topic. What if neither of them are the answer?
Next week will be a dope episode. We promise that. It's right before Christmas. We'll have some stuff thought out.
Definitely going to do a little bit of a Christmas special next week. It's going to be some cool stuff we got coming specifically from Blake's dad. Great ideas coming at us.
Yeah.
But
Stay
I
tuned
think
for this dope intro before you open up and listen to this podcast too. Shout
Yes,
out to
sir.
the bro
Yes, sir.
Meek Millie, and then there's
All right.
there's a few little features in there.
Yes, sir. Bryce, baby. So, I mean, with that, once again, just remember, send us all the feedback. So we now start letting us know who do you guys think. Let us know who wants to be a guest, maybe anything that you guys think we can make this podcast better. We can throw in a third person. We can make this even better. Just have a guest each week, talk different topics. Like my buddy commented, saying he wanted to talk a little bit of Detroit sports. Hey, if we want to throw a little bit of different city sports in there, just to let people know what's going on.
Let's make this different. Sports is a very competitive. Like we knew this getting into this, and we don't care how many people listen to us. We could do it for the 2 people that listen to us. If that is how many is out there listening to us, it's not literally 2 right now. But if it ever gets to that, then so what? We're still gonna do this. We have fun, but
Sir.
we know it's competitive. It's sports. There's mid, and we're in one of the biggest sports marketing cities in the country. So we know how tough it is to do this, but we want to provide good content. You want to take comments, feedback, questions from people like you. Hey, shout out to our guy, Mr. Mott, our teacher from high school. I posted something. He commented. It was more just like his thoughts on the season and like what was the expectations going into this week because I made a post. We appreciate stuff like that. You know what I mean? We'll even talk about stuff like that. We didn't really talk about it today, like what he said. But you comment stuff. I'm gonna even Dill, but me, I'm gonna start trying to post stuff more like every other day or at least twice a week or maybe 3 times a week leading up to the next podcast. And like just get in on it, comment. Don't feel weird. Like we don't have a big following yet. We only have like a little over 180 followers on our Instagram, not a ton on our Twitter. So go follow that, run that up. Subscribe to us on YouTube or on Apple, but comment on anything. YouTube, comment on Instagram, tweet at us. I haven't really been active on there, but sometimes I'll go in there. I'll see like you know me. You're like Blake. You're tweeting on Twitter. I'm like, yeah. Not mine.
Forget that you're on not your personal Twitter.
Yeah.
But yeah, run them up. We'll be here. We want the feedback. Let us know. But I think that's it for the week. You'll see us next week. Christmas special. We out.
No. One last thing, because we are about to be out. Shout out to the Sixers. Preseason started tonight. The season starts next Wednesday. We open up against the Wizards. Big things. And one last thing, we shout them out at the beginning. Shout out to Heart of Philly again. Rocking them here, rocking them there on the hat. But like Dill said, peace out. You know what it is. Go Birds.
Yes, sir.